In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create Google Cloud Function using Google Cloud Console. As we know that Google Cloud Function is a lightweight, event-based asynchronous compute solution that allows you to create small single-purpose functions that respond to cloud events without the need to manage a server or a runtime environment. So without wasting a time, let me click the create function, and you need to enable the API if you have not already done it. So you will see that the cloud function has a two generation. You can see the first generation and the second generation. And I'm going to explain briefly about the differences between the first generation and second generation. I just save it in my notepad. You can see here clearly. So basically, there are two products version, Cloud Function first generation. This is the first version, and Cloud Function second generation. This is a new version built on top of Cloud Run and EventArc. So the recommended one is a second version. So uh, the first generation uses the typical serverless functions architecture, which means that one function instance can handle one request at specific point in time. So on the other hand, the second generation adds very important new feature. It allows you to handle this function allow the one function instance handle multiple requests at the same time. So you can clearly differentiate the differences, right? The first generation can handle only one request at specific point in time, whereas the second one is handles multiple requests at the same time. Also, uh, the second generation have a longest request timeout and larger instance size, and the concurrency is a 1000 as far as I remember, and the multiple function revisions and traffic splitting supported in the second version, and second version also support for 90 plus event types. So this is the basic differences between the version 1 and version 2. So let's create the each version in this hands-on lab. So let's start with the first generation and give the name. Let's say first function generation 1, and let's choose the default region, US Central 1. And you can also see the trigger. This is HTTP. You can also trigger type by cloud pops up, cloud storage, cloud firestore, and others are in the preview. You can see. And for authentication, we can choose the allow unauthenticated invocation, and we can click if you want to require the HTTPS, just click this tick or uncheck this, and you can click the save and go to advanced sections. Here you can see the runtime, the memory allocated. So the differences is that in the first generation you can see we have the memory 8 GB memory, but in the second generation we have a lot of GB. I will show you while we are creating the second generation. So now let's choose the default 256 and 60 timeout, and let's see the auto scaling, the minimum number of instances to 1 and the maximum number of instances, let's say 10. And you can see the runtime service account, App Engine default service account. We have default compute service account and my service account. So you can also check here the build, you can select the environment, connections, the egress settings, and network here. And you can also play around with the security and image repo. You can here click the secrets. So let's click the next, and then here you can see the code. This is a runtime Node.js 16, and the Node.js 18 is in the preview section. So let's choose the Node.js 16 for now. And this is the entry point, the hello world, and we can see the index.js and package.json. So you can see the simple hello world, the code here. We can here change the code hello world, let's say from generation 1, right? Okay, so now we can deploy it. It will take a bit time, not so long. While it's creating the first generation, let's create the second generation by clicking create function. And in the environment, now we'll choose the second generation, and I'm gonna give generation 2, and we'll choose the same region, US Central 1, and I'll allow unauthenticated invocation, and you can see the advanced configurations, runtime, build, connection, and security sections. And here you can see the memory allocated. We have as until 16 GB of memory allocated, and 32 is now in the preview. So in the first generation, we only have 8 GB. This is another advantage of the second generation. So let's leave the default and change the auto scaling the same, 1 minimum number of instances and 10 maximum number of instances. And you can see the runtime service default is a compute service account, and the same is the second generation is almost the same. You can see the build worker pools, build environment variables, connections, ingress and egress, the same as the first generation, as you can see. And let's click next, and we have the same runtime, Java, Go, Next, Python, and Ruby and PHP. But we will choose a Node.js 16, which is a default. And here it's hello HTTP. And we have the same index.js and package.json. And here we'll change the code a bit. Hello world from generation 2, right? This is generation 2. Let's deploy it. And we'll see. I guess the first generation is ready, completed. You can see. Let's click it. Let's click the first generation and check the URL. Let me go to details. You can see the general information, and you can also see the source, variables, triggers. You can see inside the trigger we have a URL. You can copy this and click in a new tab, just paste in a new tab and see whether it's working. You can see that hello world from generation 1. And let's go to permissions. You can see the permission, cloud functions, service agent, and logs, and testing. You can also test here, test the function. So let's go back and check the second generation is also complete. You can click this inside the second generation and then check the trigger and copy the URL and paste it here. And you can see that it's also working. Hello world from generation 2, and this is a hello world from generation 1, and this is from generation 2. So both generations are working, and I showed the differences. You can also check the differences once more to make it clear. So you can see that one function instance can handle one request at a specific point in time, but in the second generation, one function can handle multiple requests at the same time. And of course, I will add this in the comment section. So this is all about it for this video. Thank you very much. And in the next video, hopefully we'll create the cloud function using Terraform. Thank you very much, and see you in the next videos.